Welcome to the StoryCure podcast. Today we are speaking with Meredith Vaish. So there are many reasons we're speaking to Meredith today. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to Meredith personally is because she used to be my boss at the Stanford Alumni Association.
Many moons ago.
15 years ago?
You're kidding me.
Yep. Nope. Because Kieran and I are celebrating our 15-year anniversary. So I think I started
we were
16
just getting
years ago.
together. I know.
Yep. And that's one reason. And she's cool and awesome. Also, she married an Indian man.
That's true. We have this in common.
Yeah, we do have this in common. Good taste.
Obviously.
and good looking kids, if I do say so myself.
I agree. It's a good mix.
Also, because she is an author in the making, the author journey. Yeah. So we will talk a bit about that. And also because I really love her work and I'm excited to share it with anyone who wants to listen about pause box and the value of slowing down. And boy, Meredith, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for being here.
I'm so thrilled to be here. Thanks, MeiMei.
Thank you for the work you're doing too, because nobody told me when I launched the True Entrepreneurial Journey 3 years ago that it is like having another child. I've been self-employed most of my adult life, so the idea of working from home was not unfamiliar to me. Totally different ballgame to start a company.
Yeah.
Start working with other people, be promoting and selling services all the time. And I am going 100 miles an hour, 7 days a week. So
that sounds
very
familiar. Yeah.
I'm your target audience right here.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your work and what called you to it.
Yeah. Well, I think we have this in common. So being the Bay Area, in the zeitgeist of the Silicon Valley, Bay Area, go. Stanford definitely is part of that. And I think I just gravitated here because I really understood that pace. Like that was a very familiar pace for me. And I never thought twice. I just thought, this is what you do. You just achieve and you just be successful in all the ways and you just do all the things and you never stop and you never rest and you never ask for help. You just make it happen. And that's how life is meant to be led. So funny enough, after, I don't think it was because of your departure, MeiMei, but it was shortly thereafter. After 16 years at Stanford, and raising 2 kids, it all just added up to kind of a critical, moment where my body just broke down and it was carpal tunnel. So, this hand was no longer operating. And it was such a embarrassing injury because you're like, that's not real. I don't see blood. It's like, you're not broken. And so I just thought, people must think I'm like the biggest loser. I'm so lazy. Like how could I possibly take a break from work? I've got all these things on my plate, Yeah, I was very, very worried about the perception of what it looked like to slow down, because how are you supposed to be successful if you're like taking it easy, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so ingrained in the culture and who I am personally. And then my body just said, yeah, we're just going to make you stop. And so it did. And so I took a little pause and I left my awesome career, but it was also it was changing, like I was ready for new life and I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And so I gave myself a year to kind of figure out what that was. And and I turned out I was not the let's figure out the next best, business strategy. I was more the let's make soup and like go outside and stare up at the sky. Like, I think that's what my year away, my little sabbatical, that was what it was all about. And that's when I created enough space to just kind of hear myself. And when I could listen to what am I here for and what am I doing and what's true for me, then I got this beautiful download, and it's the words pause box. And I think it was such a strange thing to say to someone like me, like, what? I was like, what? What's that? And there was no other information. It was just more of an invitation, like, go figure that out. And I, talk about an intuitive business strategy, like, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. So that's how it all started.
I think this is incredibly familiar story, especially for women, on every level. One is just that thinking that pushing ourselves to the max and doing it all, and also raising kids a lot of the time, and also caring for aging parents a lot of the time is normal and expected. And that's what you're supposed to do. And if you do anything less, then you are less than.
Yes.
And then also for it to manifest as a physical ailment, which you describe as kind of embarrassing because who believes it? But I've heard that in so many ways. I've heard it from people who get Lyme disease, or they get long COVID, or they get, you know, everything, hip pain.
Yep. Yeah.
Similarly, where it's like, if it's not, if you can't physically see it and lays eyes on it, then you must be making it up or using it as an excuse.
An excuse. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So where does that come from?
Well, I'd say, I mean, the culture isn't, we're all about producing, right? We're producers. We are founded on a bunch of kind of people who wanted to make a better life, and risk takers, and, you know, go west and possibility. And like, it's just, we've got a lot of it in our DNA. And then of course, here in California, it's particularly amped up because of the innovation and da, da, da. So I think it's just, the default is, you are what you produce. And if you're not producing, who are you? And for me, my side thing is, I love the Enneagram and I use it in my work. And I am recently realized, I thought I was an Enneagram type 4 all my life. And then I realized, oh, I'm a type 3. Now the difference is type 3 is called the achiever. And I had never considered myself an achiever because my achievement has always been very quiet, right? Like I've been the power behind the throne. Like my husband is very successful and I'm kind of like, all my energy goes into like his success and his just operating at excellence. And that's, you know, I'm just the gal behind the scenes. And the same with my kids. Like I'm back here, like making sure everything's happening for them. Do they have the resources they need? And so I never thought of myself. I mean, I was at Stanford, but I wasn't in like big job. I wasn't in like, oh, I'm a VP of blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I was there to make my team shine and to make this little organization that is, you know, the mission to Stanford alums, like really shine. And that was just, so I'm kind of a behind the scenes girl. So it was sort of surprising that I had this total hang up about, you know, achievement. But then what I realized was it comes from the conditioning of, especially for women, like, you know, you've got to deliver, you've got to do and produce and be seen as valuable. And I think as a kid, if there's a wound, it would be, I don't think I ever felt valued unless I was doing something to prove it. And that's why a lot of my framework that I use with women is all around, you know, the pleasing, the proving, and the perfectionism, because I think for women, that's how we are schooled. And if we're not productive and if we're not pleasing and proving ourselves, then we are not feeling like we matter.
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps. I mean, not to say that men don't face that as well. Certainly they do.
It's just
and especially in Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Different vibe.
Yeah.
I think women also, you know, you're a writer and an editor and so you know about this whole hero's journey that a lot of us writers use, right? And so a couple of years ago when I was first starting this book, because this book has morphed many times, and I was with an editor and we were working with the hero's journey, and it makes sense. And so I submit some of my stories and she gets on the call with me and she's like, you know, Meredith, I think we need to think about a different structure. And I was like, well, is there another structure?
Right.
And she's like, well, I think you're on the heroine's journey. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, it's a very deeply feminine journey. And here's the thing. At a very young age, you separated from your feminine and became overly masculinized, right? Because that's what achievement is. That's what doing is. That's what performance is. And God love masculine energy. I love it. I'm very good at it. It saves lives. It's fabulous. And if you're only in your masculine energy, then you are really burning all of your fuel. And so I over-indexed, right? Achiever, go-getter. And then I had this big physical breakdown, which was the body. By the way, the body is feminine, which forced me into a new relationship with my body because I couldn't push it anymore. I had to relax. I had to listen. I had to allow. I had to ask. These are all feminine qualities that I had never cultivated in my life. And then as I come back up through the journey, I'm now integrating the masculine with the feminine, right? I'd say right now I'm really in my feminine, and I'm trying to put some guardrails on the masculine, because they're the ones that tend to get very triggered, especially when it comes to like, be successful, publish a book, you know, be an entrepreneur. So I'm constantly like, that's why this work is so intuitive and important to me. How can we bring that deep listening? How do we bring that deep intuition? How do we bring the rest, the soulfulness, the listening, and the kind of artistry that's involved in this process? And how do we bring that into integration so that we can bring the medicine back into the community? So I don't know if that's an academic definition of what a heroine's journey is, because I just thought it was a girl hero. It's not. It's like very specific about leaving behind the feminine, and
it is. Yeah,
it's been my mission to kind of go back and find her and bring her on board.
Oh, yeah, how beautiful. So you spent a year making soup and staring at the stars. Sounds amazing. Sounds like what a lot of people did during COVID, by the way.
Right.
A giant,
yes.
Right.
That was my pre-COVID. Yeah. I guess I was getting some practice. My COVID was very busy because I took that time to really push out the message, because people really needed to hear things.
They sure did.
My COVID was not relaxing, but that 1 year off from post Stanford was definitely, and it was hard. You know? Maybe I did not feel like I was entitled to rest. I was like, I've got 1 year, like chop. Let's get going. Like, where's the inspiration? Yeah. Come on. Yeah. We got to get this, you know, where's the productivity? Where's the result? And I kept saying, and so that's why, and I loved my practices. I'd walk, I'd hang out with my dog, you know, and I didn't realize that was the actual work. That was it working through me, was the resting part. I was like, okay, what business model can I think of? And what, you know, who's my ideal, you know, it was so funny.
That's
to look back at that time.
Funny. Right back. The masculine energy was just knocking on the door. Like,
so
hey,
easy.
Come on, let me in.
Yeah. So easy. So easy to go there for me. Yeah.
How did that turn into a business, and what does that look like? Tell us about your work.
Girl, lots of iterations. I think I fell in love first with, so I got this idea, this pause box, right? It dropped in. And this was the time, remember the trend where everyone was doing subscription boxes?
Yes.
I was like, well, obviously this means.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember tea boxes, fruit boxes, doggy treat boxes.
For sure. Yes. So I went through all of that, and I came up with some great ideas and some business models for that. And then at the end of the day, I was like, it's still stuff. And I just don't want stuff. Like, I want to take women on a journey, and I want discovery. I love some good luxury stuff that are made by artisans. So I was kind of trying to see, how can I support artisans and then bring this into the pricing? Just, I couldn't get it to work. And then I also just didn't want to house stuff, and I didn't want shipping. So I was like, this is not, I think I'm taking pause box a little too literally. So I was like, okay. And at the time I was leaning into the coaching and retreat leading. So my first retreat was in Sedona, and it was called Slow Down Sedona.
Beautiful.
Probably my most successful retreat of all time, because it's just a magical place.
Yeah.
And so then it just starts to morph, right? And then as I'm learning my craft and I'm learning my own frameworks, then I start doing the writing. And I was realizing, you know, what I've always really been is the writer. And I just didn't think I could, quote, make money at it. So then it's like, oh, so I'm going to bring the coaching online. I'll bring the spiritual direction online. I'm going to bring the writing online. What kind of business is that? I have no idea. It's what I'm doing. It's TBD. It's a purely like, there's several bottom lines, you know, there's like the money is a bottom line, but there's also the reward of just, I get to live in my truth every single day. I get to work with women as they discover their own patterns, and they're like, oh, I can have a choice about whether I do that or this. And I'm like, yeah. And so just the mentorship and the community. So now I think I'm in the phase of really bringing women together for presence, as opposed to let's work on ourselves or let's, improve ourselves. Because that, I think I was very wrapped up in that in my first couple of years, because it's a very masculine way of doing this work. And now I was like, oh, well, if you really want to be, rebellious, what if you really did work with just presence over performance? Like, really, if that was the slogan, what could that look like for women? And who might be on board for that? So that's my latest sojourn. And that's where the writing is coming in and really helping women just take a pause and take a breather. And like, what if you don't have to keep moving and doing and proving and performing? And what if there's something really tender and important inside of you that you could just honor and trust and allow and sit with? And that, what if that's enough, right? What if you don't have to be the most successful yada-yada-yada-y? Or go be the most successful yada-yada-yada-y. But like, there's a lot of ways to live life. And I think we've all thought that you have to be financially successful. And I'm like, that's coming, but that's not. If I keep my eye on that ball, I'm gonna make some really weird decisions. Yeah. So I think writing has really taken over as kind of my practice. Keeps me honest.
So what does that look like for you? Is that daily? Is that
weekly? So in addition to writing this book.
Yeah. And what's your book about?
So the placeholder title is Nothing to Prove, and I'm working on some subtitles.
I love that.
To be a radical new formula for success, which is really pointing to how do we get out of this pleasing, proving, and perfectionism. And then I'm playing right now with this idea of like, the art of presence over performance, because I think that might be where I'm more focused, less about building success and more about really building that presence. So we'll see. That's a work in progress. And while I'm doing that, I'm generating these weekly missives around, it's kind of a weekly ritual that women can read, a short lesson. And then there's an embodiment exercise, because what I know to be true is my life had so much more meaning when I could connect my body and not just, be up here with all the crazy ideas. And I mean, like, I love living up here, but the minute you connect down here and you're in your body, there's so much more truth comes online. You have so much more guidance. And so I have a prompt around that. And then because I just love technology, I have a Meredith AI coach, and so all three, right? So you get the lesson, you get the embodiment, and then you can, like, if you're getting stuck or if you've got some like, well, what does this mean? You take it to the little AI coach. And so it's all bundled up in this Nothing to Prove framework. And that's been a long time in the making, but I feel like, wow, after 7 years, it's finally all kind of falling into place. So writing a book on top of that now feels very, very empowering rather than exploratory. Like,
great. Yeah. Amazing. And so is the book more about your journey? Is it a memoir, or is it more a presentation of a self-help book framework?
Okay, you're so good. And I'm working with Jen, and she's helping me figure this out. It started out as very memoirish, but then leading into kind of some tools, tips, and tricks. And I just want to rip out all those tips and tricks. I'm just kind of like, I think people are so done with being taught that I was like, let's just tell the story. And if the story is helpful, people are going to they'll get the transformation for themselves. I don't have to and here, point 1, point 2, I think we're tired of working on ourselves. Maybe I am.
Meredith. Well, it has been a hot topic for 20 years now. Self-help.
Oh yeah.
Like really hot. From, Liz Gilbert and Martha Beck to now this current generation of Glennon Doyle, Dr. Becky. I mean, I love them all. I'm not criticizing them at all, but it's
and there's definitely a place.
There is a place, but there's kind of a podcast every week about how to improve my physical health, my parenting skills, my business skills.
Yeah. And it gets tiring. So I have this Aura ring. And I wore it for a really long time. And now it sits here. I'm tired of tracking. I'm so anti-tracking and like wellness right now. I still do all my wellness practices, but I'm tired of putting goals around it. Yeah. I'm tired of at the end of the day, did I do enough? Did I do good? I'm like, hey, how about I just answer that in a more embodied way rather than in let me look at my, tech to see if I did good.
Well, guess what? You're answering it in a feminine, intuitive way
There you
instead of
go.
a masculine, tracking,
Analytical
achieving
way.
goal way.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. Someone suggested an aura ring to me, and I was like, no, yeah, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, that is so I'm happy to hear that. And I love it. You know, one of the things I find when I talk to people about writing their books is that you can hear from one person, oh, this is what you should do. And it just gets stuck in your head, you know, and there is no what you should do. I mean, if there's any place to trust your intuition, it's writing. Writing is an expression of your soul.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So you must tap into that intuition and follow the voice within that says, this is what I want to do, not this is what someone told me I should do too.
Right. Or this will be impressive, or this is what people need to hear from me, or this is what I should write about because this is my, you know, my genius. That's like, well, how about I just feel into what's true for me? And then, I mean, just in radical vulnerability, like I think everyone appreciates just authenticity in the journey.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You have to.
But it does bring up some stuff. I'll have to say it brings up a little bit of like, well, who's going to read it? Who are you? Yeah. You're not a celebrity. People read that from a celebrity, but not from a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, and if that's true, I guess it's true. But I suspect the people that are in my little solar system, I think they'll have some interest.
But that's who the book is for. I mean, that's also the truth. Even with these big books, even with the celebrities, even with the big publishing deal. Yeah. You know, it is about resonating with your niche audience and your people and your book tribe. That's it. Yeah. And I often use the analogy, if you were to do a book event back in the day before the internet, which, you know, many people are watching this don't remember this day, but you and I do.
I remember
there
those.
There was no internet, guys. Yeah. For those of you who are born after 2000.
Book signing at Barnes and Noble's.
Book signings. And if you did a book signing, and if you had 10 people, I'm not exaggerating, if you had 10 people show up, right? So totally. Like now you think about if you get 10 people to buy your book and be excited about your book and review your book on Amazon and tell you that it changed their life. Yeah. If you get 100 people to buy it and 10 people to say it changed their life. So it's like our metrics have also gotten so skewed.
Exactly. And I think that's why I really wanted to redefine success for myself. And it's not that I'm against big money, big visibility, big reach. Like, yay, if that happens, great. But I really can't let that be what I'm aiming for, because I think it does drive that dismissive, like, well, I'm going to diminish any success I have because it doesn't look like that. And I thought, well, if I change one life, if I'm changing my life, for crying out loud, like I'm changing my daughter's lives, they get to look at me doing something that I love. Like lives are being changed. And then there's a book, and I'd love it to get out there. I'd love there to be, you know, I'd love people to engage with it. That is a metric I would love. And money is, you know, it's a metric. It's just not all the metrics. So I don't know if I'm just being like naive. I'm sure someone could say, oh, well, it'd be nice not to have to worry about money. I'm like, oh, I know, I worry about money. Yeah. I still have to make money, but it's just, I have to go find other ways to do that. And so that I don't put all that pressure on the book. Wasn't it Liz Gilbert who said, you really shouldn't burden your creative work with, you know, the mandate to make money.
The mandate to make money, completely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet we're doing it all the time.
And yet we do it all the time. And yet it is also a way to connect in a more authentic, deeper, vulnerable way that often leads to bigger opportunities. At least that's what I see again and again with authors in ways that they don't expect it.
Exactly.
Not through book sales.
Yes.
But through being invited to be on the board of a nonprofit, you know, like my friend Everett Harper, who he published Move to the Edge Declare Center. He got invited to be on the board of care.com. Like CARE is one of the biggest nonprofits in the world. Yep. You know, and so he didn't anticipate that from the book, right? Yes. You know, so there are ways that it impacts and it does also, I'm so glad you brought up, it also changed my life.
Right.
That's the number one, actually.
Yeah.
The number one is you, because even if you never publish it, even if you just bind it and give it to your children.
Right.
That act.
I've gone through the journey. Yeah.
So what is your practice like?
Yeah.
Do you have morning hours, morning pages? What is it?
Well, I'm trying to think. What is it? So I have this publishing schedule for my weekly ritual, and right now that's getting all my love. So the book has become, I park it, and then I took it out over Christmas break because I just needed some space from it so that I could hear it again. Because, you know, when you're in it so much, you're like, I think that sounds good. I don't know. Does that sound good? Is that me? Anyway, so I dust it off and then I reread it. And then I called Jen immediately and I'm like, okay, I need to rework this whole thing. I like the first 4 chapters a lot. So that's what the book's doing. But what I love is that publication. So I'm just, every week I have a topic that I sit with and then I teach on, and then I create embodied practices around, and then I put it on Substack, and I have paid subscribers. And so it's like, yay,
amazing.
I'm a writer.
Okay, so you have an email. You're a page writer. This is so awesome. Okay, so you put it on Substack, or is that where that's what carries your email newsletter?
That is what carries the publication of the weekly ritual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for people who pay for it, that's where they get it. And I'm figuring that out too. You know, there's a lot of tips and tricks about Substack.
Would you like to share any with my audience? Because everyone asks me about Substack. And I say, I'm just getting started on it myself. But one thing I know is that everybody told me I had to be on it, and I'm already publishing an email newsletter. So why not republish it on Substack? Yes. That seems like a no-brainer. But beyond that, I don't have a lot of advice to share. So what have you got to share?
I think the advice I'm not taking is go and do the notes every day and several times a day. There's this whole social, I'm done with social media. Like I'll do when I'm feeling inspired to share something, I will do it. But I am not going to do the make shit up 3 times a day to get, something viral. I don't think that actually exists anymore. But what I am doing is there's a really smart chap who talked about discoverability of your Substack content and how important it is to have your own domain. Like Google search really won't take your Substack very seriously as far as a searchable, findable place unless you have your own private domain. So that was done. And then there's a lot of SEO and AI tricks that you need to do with your content just so that it sees you as an expert, and you need to organize your information a little differently than we would normally do. So there's a little bit of geekiness going on. So I'm learning a little bit of like, look at the search console and like, let's see what's, what search terms are generating interest. And it's a slow, this again, masculine. I don't index well in my analytics. I'm like, huh? But that's me being a grown-up and going, well, it's fun to create and you need to analyze and see what's serving, and then maybe find out if you've structured it in a way that people can find the content. So there is a little bit of, let's go back and make sure that things are cross-referenced and make sure there's a good hub and spoke kind of structure. So that's what I'm doing lately.
Wow.
There's just so much to do.
Oh my gosh, so much to do. It's like it makes my head want to pop off.
Yeah. So
but you're enjoying the writing. You're enjoying the creation of the ritual.
Oh my gosh.
The writing of so how beautiful.
I love it so much. And
Can you tell us a story of a client? Because I love stories. It's called the StoryCure.
That's right.
Yep.
A story of a client who, I'm just trying to think of my ritual or of my just women that I
worked with you. Yeah. Took a pause, slowed down, did things differently, came from the feminine more than, I don't know, something.
Oh, all the things. Yeah, I will go with this beautiful artist who lives nearby. She super self-aware, very smart, savvy. I would say even a Buddhist practitioner. Okay, so she's got all the things. And she was just feeling stuck. And she knows how to meditate. Right? I can't say I am a great meditator. Writing is kind of my form of meditation. But anyway, so she got stuck and we got together and I did what's called a soul yes session. And it brings in this fun, intuitive, right? All my work is very intuitive, right? And so sometimes we need help asking a powerful question, right? Because we use declarative sentences a lot. But when we can get into a really powerful question, it's really, it unleashes our own creativity and it also unleashes our ability to solve whatever question that we're asking. So for her, she had a work question, she had a husband question, and then I threw in kind of I always throw in a third question just to make sure that when you're doing the exercise, you're not, you can't you can't scam the results. So what happens is we do a rip and reveal. So she takes 3 magazines, rips out a page, and each page, she doesn't look. She just says like question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. So it's like this random, right? We're trying to randomly generate information here because your intuition is really good when things are randomly generated. Mm-hmm. So she grabs like an image for each question. And then she does not reveal the question. She just sits and she looks at the image and she writes anything that comes to her. So it's like, oh, I see a beach. I see a dog on the beach. I see a girl in her van. It was like Sunset Magazine. So of course, like some cool, romanticized view of being in Cabo on your own with a dog surfing. Anyway, so she gets that. And then she reveals the question. So then after she's like figured out, okay, that's what's coming up for me. And then she reveals the question. And then always there is something in there that is something that's just like an aha that she could have never connected because she's seeing a big question with random information. So for her, I'm trying to make sure I don't expose too much confidentiality.
Yeah. No, we don't want to expose confidentiality.
Here's another example. One of my clients pulled a Geico ad. You know Geico, the insurance company.
Yeah.
GEICO. This client's question was all about leadership. And how do I step into my leadership? And on this ad, this Geico ad, it was bifurcated. It was yellow and blue. There was a house and there was like a car with like headlights, kind of a sports car. And in the middle was this circle. And it was a Geico ad, and I can't remember what else it said. But what it was so obviously saying to her was that she had to be a guy. Like in order to get leadership, she was trying to be a guy. It was like a guy flavored leadership. And she felt like she was the male or the female, right? She was seeing this as very kind of, I don't know I'm not an integrated leader. I'm one or the other. And so that was so enlightening for her because she didn't realize that she had been operating in all leadership has to look like guys. You have to be strong, kind of forceful, top down, all the masculine leadership qualities, as opposed to the collaborative, the much more longer horizon leadership, not control. And so this is the kind of work when your intuition gets involved and you ask the big questions in a way that kind of facilitates listening. Then you get this incredible, like our intuition always serves up like the best, juiciest stuff. And it's all, it's like, I couldn't make this stuff up. It was like such a perfect landing. And she was like, and because it came from her, she was like, wow, she owned it. And she's like, right. I think I'm done trying to be a man. I think I'm done with that. I was like, yeah, nice. Okay. And then we work on, okay, what does that look like? And that's where the coaching part comes.
Okay.
The big aha is there. So that's a story of some of the techniques and bringing your intuition online when you're kind of going through your big questions about what do you want to do with your life and who do you want to be and how do you want to show up. Yeah, lots to learn there.
So how has it evolved for you now? It's been 7 years. What is your takeaway for the rest of us of that? Is there anything you can offer up?
Yeah. Takeaway. 7 years. Well, I this whole 9-year cycle has felt very, very apropos. This snake, the ending of who I was, because that was the tail end of my kind of the height of my corporate into the beginning of my entrepreneurial. And I was very much a prover in my entrepreneurial. Like I didn't just leave that in the cubicle, it just kept coming. I was like, why am I still pushing and pushing? I'm like, I don't even have my boss here anymore. Like who am I trying to impress? But it's this innate thing. Yeah. So the takeaway is what happens if you slow down. If you allow, if you listen, if you trust, what might be available, what resources come online. I have a funny story where there was a woman who, she's an Anderson consultant. So you know the type where they're just constantly, first of all, working and also very analytical, right? And I was telling her about my company, Pausebox. And she's like, okay, like I love everything about it except for this word pause. Cause like, doesn't that mean stop?
That's a good story.
That's a good one.
That's a good one right there.
I said, it does mean stop. Yeah, it does mean stop. And stopping is terrifying because we don't know how. And we think that our lives are going to stop. And it's true. The plates might stop spinning and stuff will fall, but it's usually not the important stuff. So yeah, there you go. Pause.
Amazing.
It's the other 4-letter word. P-A-U-Z. It's actually 5.
That's good.
Darn it.
P-A-U-Z.
There you go. We can make it work.
My gosh.
Oh.
Wow. What a journey. So what's next in terms of what is next in terms of like, if you are not going in the masculine model, right?
Oh, yeah.
So okay. Right. Okay. I'm trying to phrase this.
You're so good.
The masculine model is obviously you've got to build your business and you got to be bigger and scale and more money and more clients. What is next for you in the feminine model?
Here's the radical work.
Okay.
I'm still launching programs, right? I mean, I'm still feeding my business, but the old style of have to do all the things, like what might a launch look like? Right now, my launch looks like some DMs to some past clients and some friends, a post on LinkedIn that didn't even have a call to action on it.
What? That's against the rules.
As a direct marketing person, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Can I do that? And it got huge engagement.
Wow.
Huge engagement. But also because I was coming from a very potent place. And I think that feminine model is where your potency is. It's not do all the things, it's do the one thing and really potently, be in it and be present. And I feel like that is magnetic. And if we have more of that in our business, then there's much more invitation as opposed to like, hey, you wanna, hey, you gotta, hey, like, how about this? How about I'll follow up? And I used to win just from sheer willpower. And now I want to find others who just want to be in this conversation around what might life look like when we just relax into the truth of who we are. We get very kind with ourselves. We are, and we're connected and there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to do. We get to just be our beautiful selves. And then what could we create from there, right? As opposed to what can we create from all the things, which I've already done.
Which I've already done.
I already tried that. So that's what's ending with my snake is doing all the things. And I think it's doing the one thing right now. And that's why this book is coming at such a potent time, because I feel like now I'm finally living the message. At the beginning, it was a thought and it was a concept and it was true to me and I was authentic about it, but I was still get it into my bones. And now it's in my bones. And if we're writing from a place from the bones, Natalie, writing from the bones. It's a really different place to write from. So so that's the journey, girl.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you talked about AI and using AI and building an AI coach.
Oh yeah.
Which I also, working with my clients with AI, and also the best writing is the writing from the bones, is the place when you get still and quiet and you tune in, and that's when the really beautiful stuff. The AI can help with all the repurposing, editing, structuring,
100%.
And getting it all out right. But you gotta.
AI can help with a good caption. I love AI's for captions.
But like, you got
But the story has to come from you. Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
You have to.
I have enjoyed trying to see if AI could write my stuff. And I was like, wow, this is shit.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I mean, it looks good, but it's bad. So yeah,
and people,
I think we all have to figure that out.
People aren't liking it. They're reacting to it. You know, it's already, it didn't take that long. You know, that's what I found was pretty amazing in this last year. You started to already see a backlash to the AI slop and the work slop and the,
Well, and that goes to the potency, right? Because more is not going to give you better. It's the potency. So it's the pull in really, I mean, like I'm touching my solar plexus right here. Like this is where I want to write from. This is where I want to communicate from. This is where my leadership is here. And it's not up here. So yeah, I do love the AI, and it can never, ever get me here in my body.
Right. Yeah. That's where the best stuff comes from. And I'm sure in your work with your clients.
Oh yeah.
That's what it's all about. Dialing in.
In fact, we spend a lot of time getting out of our heads because, again, that's the masculine place, right? The idea is very masculine. Great, awesome, bring them on board. Just don't stay there. Like you got to integrate more. There's so much more in our bodies to tell us. Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can we reach out to you?
Yeah, I would love to talk to anyone about. Soul Before Strategy is my Substack. If you want to check out some of the really cool topics there, I think if you have a sense that you might be a pleaser, approver, or a perfectionist, you're gonna find a lot of reassurance that that's pretty normal, and some ideas on how to love yourself into a more present way of being. Yeah, so I'll join you over there. Soul Before Strategy.
Sounds good. Our world needs more of that.
It does feel like that's true. Yeah.
Soul Before Strategy, Meredith Vaish.
Very good.
I just learned that. Vaish. So good talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you, MeiMei. This is such a joy.
Okay.
Thanks for who you are in the world. And thanks for being on my team so long ago. You know, you were such the rock star. And I was like, oh, can I take credit for her?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Take credit for her. She's amazing.
But I really loved my year and a half there at Stanford Alumni Association. And people
you
were like,
such
you're
an innovator.
Leaving. And I said, I got to go be with this guy in LA.
I know. I remember reading that and I was like, okay, part of me is like, this is the best idea ever. And then part of me is like, well, as a mother, I need to ask you.
I know.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
But once you say you're sure, I'm all in. Because I believe that when you're sure, when you know, you know. And you're like, I know. I was like, then it's a hell yes, girl.
Yeah. So thank you for your support, and thanks for being here for me.
You betcha.
And making it so fun and joyful. That's a very joyful place to work.
It's
Putting
an amazing
in a little
place.
plug for Stanford.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Go Stanford. It was an amazingly magical place.
Such a magical place. I tell
we
people
were really
all
lucky.
the time, like, that's a good place to work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. All right, my love.
Good chatting
Thank
with you,
you.
Meredith. Bye. Thank
Ciao.
you.